are live, and we're having an important conversation, as we always do, but especially this month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. A recent survey found that the number of adults in this country have been diagnosed with depression throughout their life is at 29%. That, by the way, it was up 10% since 2015. We know a lot has happened since 2015 to now, for sure, that justifies that number. And more women are suffering from depression compared to men. I think all the women in the audience are nodding. We understand that too. Yes. But the good news is that more than ever before, we're talking about it to show you that you're not alone. And our next guests are doing just that. Casey White, Elyse Fox, and Gina Payne are all moms who at different points in their lives realized that they were struggling with their mental health. And instead of suffering in silence, they used their journeys, their stories to say what we talk about all the time. Let's talk about it. Take a look.
As a teenager and into adulthood, I just constantly felt like I had this dark cloud over me.
Around like middle school age, I always felt like I just had this weight on me and I could not release it or leave it.
My panic attacks didn't start until I was 11 days postpartum. To care for this tiny, brand new human really overwhelmed me and triggered scary thoughts.
I was working a lot of hours. Running a startup is hard. I became very withdrawn and depressed and had lots of bouts of crying.
I was working my dream job. I had everything like I thought I should have to be happy, and I was miserable. It came to the point where I didn't want to live anymore. I ended up in a mental health facility.
The tipping point for me was my son, who is 10. He kept asking me why I was crying all the time.
Pregnancy and postpartum are natural triggers for mental health concerns because it's the biggest shift you'll ever have in your life. Everything in your body changes, everything in your mind changes, everything in your life changes.
After I hit my rock bottom, I decided I need to go back to New York City and just kind of reset, be around friends, family.
I didn't want to show up in that way for him. I really need to get some help.
I think I've learned that this is just how my brain is. I have anxiety and I have OCD, and there's nothing wrong with that.
In the BIPOC community, understanding what my peers experienced growing up, I know mental health issues aren't regularly discussed in many homes. I saw that there were a lot of people who needed help or just needed community. We have events where people can meet in person and work through problems through workshops or just meeting with someone who's a licensed professional.
We all have mental health. We don't all have mental health concerns, but we all have mental health. And so this is my mental health.
If you're feeling like you are just misunderstood, whether you're at your highest or lowest point, talk to somebody.
Things may look great on the outside, but really a lot of people are struggling on the inside, and I want them to know that they're not alone.
Please welcome to the show Casey White, Elyse Fox, and Gina Payne. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Each of your stories resonates in different ways. Elyse, when I heard you say I had my dream job, I mean, people believe at some point when everything works out, I'll be okay. And then suddenly you get the things you think you want, but you find out that life is never perfect.
Exactly.
It's never a straight line. And you found yourself in that moment.
Absolutely. I thought once I got my dream job, I had my dream apartment, and I was in the city that I've always wanted to live in, I'm good. Like all these feelings that I was feeling my entire life would just go away because I have all of these tangible things. But it was the intangible things that I needed to work on within myself. And it wasn't until I reached that point of, oh, I need to stop and I need to reset and I need to figure out what I actually need outside of these material things that the work was actually being done. And I was actually able to see myself in a positive light and where I am today, essentially.
And with a beautiful smile on your face, by the way. Beautiful smile, all of you. Casey, going to that point, what Elyse said, when you've received everything you think you've wanted, you had a baby, a brand new baby. It's supposed to be a happy time. But what we now know more than ever before, because of women like you, postpartum, depression, these realities that come with that change. I mean, a whole person comes out of your body. So how do people expect you not to change? But we're now talking about what it does to the mind. And that's what you experienced.
I did, and it actually started in pregnancy for me. There's this whole shift that begins when you decide you want to have a child, when you decide that you want to bring new life into the world, and it's just an immense thing, and there's a certain amount of natural anxiety, and...
Look at that cute baby. And you suffer from severe anxiety and OCD. and it started 11 days after your son was born, but you say before his birth you were experiencing these things.
In retrospect, I realized that, and I think a lot of people, we hear very often that moms realize later that they started struggling earlier. And that's the hard thing, is you're going through so much and you're caring for your child, you're focused on your child, and you don't even realize that you're having a hard time.
And so all of you have used your experiences, your journey to help other people. And Gina, yours, I think, really hits home because you started to feel like a dark cloud was over you from your teenage years. And we're looking at social media and how teenagers today, but we didn't have those social pressures, but that doesn't mean that anxiety and depression and these dark clouds did not exist. And you were experiencing that.
That's right, yeah. I've experienced with anxiety and depression my entire life, and I, have learned how to recognize the signs in myself and
At what age did you start to recognize the signs in yourself?
Well, not until I became a bit older. As a young child or as a teenager, it's hard if you don't know. So that's why I start, conversations early with my son, who is 10, and we talk about mental health and the issues you might be having or things you might be feeling. Talk to someone so that
which is why you started your club, which is now it's in 15 continents or something. Well, I don't even know if there's 15 continents. 15 countries. Elyse, you started your group and it is in 15 countries right now, correct?
Yes, so Sad Girls Club has impact in over 15 countries. We mainly focus on, we're nationwide in the United States and a huge focus in London and the UK. But there's no shortage of people who need support, so we want to be everywhere that we're needed.
And so today, as I said, I have to be honest with you because I'm going to put these notes down because we're live. This is a hard show. It is, because when you start talking about anxiety and depression, I start to feel anxious. Yeah. I start to get into my own head. I feel melancholy. We just talked with Will Downing, who lost his daughter. These are not easy conversations, but you're putting yourselves on the front line. Why?
To bring awareness, to break the stigma, to help other people. Yeah. And really, that's why.
And you're doing that. And we're going to stick around. Casey, Elyse, and Gina are staying with us. When we come back, the author of This Book Won't Make You Happy has advice after the break. We'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back. Today we are talking about surviving and thriving while living with mental health challenges. Working moms Casey, Gina, Elyse are still with us. And joining us now is psychotherapist Niro Feliciano. She has a master's degree in social work from Columbia, specializes in anxiety disorders. But my favorite part of her background right now is this book. This book is called This Book Won't Make You Happy. 8 Keys to Finding Contentment. Welcome to the show, Niro. Thank you so much for joining. First, I got to start with the title of the book. Because as I talk about on the show, I was the person when bookstores were everywhere. I lived on the self-help aisle, and then when I didn't have any money to buy the book, I'd just be sitting there in the middle, people walking over me trying to find the answers to life. But you start off with the expectation of this book won't make you happy. Why did you go there from the start?
Because the way we think about happiness in our culture is about bigger, better, more.
Yeah.
We need to do more, be more, have more, and that's often leaving us feeling more anxious and stressed. And there's a difference between contentment. The way I define it in the book is that if happiness is having everything you want, contentment is wanting everything that you have.
Oh, I love that.
Appreciating what is already there.
I love that. You say that there are 8 keys to finding true contentment.
Yes.
Of the 8, what is the one that is the most important?
Can I give you 2?
You give me all 8 if you want to. We got time.
I would say the non-negotiable is gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude invites joy into our life, right? And actually, gratitude is much more powerful than we think. It's a direct pathway to resilience.
Okay.
If we can find the good in any situation, it becomes a protective barrier to the things that come against us. So gratitude, number 1.
Gratitude.
Connection.
Yeah.
We need each other. We were not called to do this life alone.
Which is why our panel of women are so special, because in their own journeys and struggles, they reached out to find connections with others.
And can I tell you one thing else I noticed by listening to all of your stories? When we can give purpose to pain, we find power.
Yeah.
That is
so true. Gina, do you feel more powerful than ever? Because I know you started your business. a wellness business, by the way, finding your own voice, leaving behind probably the job you thought you wanted and created the life you do want.
Certainly, and I found more purpose and just more contentment to your point. Every day I'm grateful for what I get to do, and I know not everybody has the same opportunities that I do, and I just try to take it day by day.
Niro, in the book, the part that spoke to me the most, you said, the incredible benefits of self-compassion. You say, in a moment, you will learn the astounding benefits that come from self-compassion practice. People often think, if I just accept that I'm going to fail, then I will just be a failure, and I won't try harder to overcome obstacles or challenges. I won't hold myself accountable, and I won't grow. You talk about self-compassion. What does that mean in practice?
So we are very quick, especially as women, to give grace to other people, but we hold ourselves to a different standard.
We beat ourselves up a lot.
We do, and that self-talk in our head, I often say to people, if you talk to other people the way you talk to yourself, no one would hang out with you, right? They wouldn't. So we have to give ourselves that grace, and what happens then, we reduce the negativity, and then we're able to move on to do the next thing. Otherwise, we get stuck in that place of negativity. It's a barrier.
So people will say, okay, here's a book. If it's so easy, I'll read this book and everything will be better. I may not be happy, but will I be content? That still won't happen either.
No.
It's a daily practice is what you're trying to get people to understand.
It doesn't happen overnight. We don't have these magical
There's no finish
keys.
line.
It's a process. It's a process. And for many of us living with mental illness, I have anxiety myself. It's probably why I became an anxiety specialist. You know, it is part of our life. We have to do the work. But when we do, it does become easier. We pick ourselves up faster, and we actually learn to enjoy life and use what we have as a power to help transform the people around us.
Yeah, I love that. And Casey, I know you're a local TV reporter, and part of, when you're a journalist and a reporter, part of what we do is try to use our platform. So that's why this show was important. There you are in the reporter jacket and everything. I remember those days. But the important part of our journeys as journalists is to use our platform even when the conversations are hard, like mental health. So thank you so much for your time today. Elyse, thank you. Gina, thank you.